A white envelope breathes on a stainless table, edges trembling under the air conditioner's hush. A clock ticks like a distant metronome of fate. The camera moves closer slow, inevitable until the seal gives with a soft sigh. Probability of paternity, 0%. Silence. Then the sound of a city waking traffic, a horn. Someone laughing 3 floors below as if the world has no idea that a whole life has just shifted on its axis. He does not flinch. He folds the paper once, twice, a third time precise as a verdict, then slips it back into the envelope. Like returning lightning to the sky, his name is Ethan Hale, 42, self-made, Midwestern bone and coastal polish. The headlines call him the quiet millionaire, the kind who signs checks without speeches. He collects sunrises over coffee more than cars, gives away more than he admits, and keeps his private life walled off like a garden. Every morning at 6:20, he flips blueberry pancakes for 2 girls who sprint through the kitchen. Like wind with ponytails, Mia, 12, already speaking in questions that carry their own answers. Leela, 9, inventor of cardboard universes and glitter constellations on the living room floor. He measures his life not in meetings but in minutes, shoelaces tied, violins tuned, a kiss on the forehead before school. Their laughter is the anthem of his house. Their socks, the confetti, and yet an old doubt, a whisper from a broken season, had asked for proof. A friend said it, a lawyer implied it, a memory wouldn't stop echoing. He mailed the test. He chose a truth he thought he could bear. He was wrong about the bearing. He drives home without music. The envelope a quiet siren in the passenger seat. Outside the windshield, the city is rain and reflection. Inside, his chest is a room with the lights off. A single thought crosses and recrosses like a shadow. What are we, without the blood between us? At the stoplight, he imagines futures like straight channels on a motel TV. One where he vanishes, one where he fights, one where he becomes a stranger living on the other side of the same town. He turns left, then right, then finally into the driveway where the chalk hopscotch hasn't yet surrendered to the rain. The squares look like a map out of childhood. Or away back in Dot in the kitchen, the ceramic bowl still holds last night's batter. A purple hair tie hangs from a cabinet knob like a flag. On the fridge, a drawing 3 figures holding hands, labeled into careful hands, Dad, Mia, Leela, above them. A sun with too many rays and the words, our favorite place. He feels it then, not anger, not even betrayal, but the weary tenderness of a man who has been both anchor and sail for too long. He takes the drawing off the fridge and lays it flat on the table, smoothing its wrinkles with the whole of his palm. As if he could press time itself back into place, the front door opens, squeals, backpacks, footsteps, Daddy. He turns before his heart does. Hey, you two. Their arms are comets around his waist. The envelope is a ghost in his pocket that refuses to become air. That night rives like a shawl. The girls fall asleep mid-movie, heads touching on the couch. Ethan stands in the doorway, a sentinel with tired eyes. He looks at the smaller things, the missing tooth smile in a framed photo, the scuffed ballet shoes, the pink post-it note on his office monitor that reads, in Lila's looping script, you're my favorite story. He steps onto the balcony, city lights strewn like unkept promises. If fatherhood is biology, he has failed. If fatherhood is a vow, he is still standing. The phone vibrates. Nora, the girl's mother, an old hurt with a familiar ringtone. He rejects the call, then texts for words, we'll talk. Not now. Court is an option. Distance is an option. Disappearing is an option. Love is an option too. He sits at the kitchen table till 2 a.m., the envelope before him like a chess piece that moves every time he blinks. Finally, he opens the bottom drawer, takes out a fountain pen, and begins to write a letter he will never send. The courthouse smells like paper and reverence. He's here by choice, not to attack, but to amend. No cameras, no suits with edges sharp as verdicts. Just a man in a navy jacket that still carries the faint memory of pancake batter. Inside the hearing room, Nora's eyes are red oceans. There were mistakes. There were apologies. There were years knotted around months, neither of them names allowed. The judge asks questions in a voice designed not to break things. Mr. Hale, given the new information, What do you want? He stands. The world narrows to a thread. Your Honor, he says, voice even, resonant, oddly calm. I want what I've always wanted to be their father. A pause that feels like a century. I understand the test. I understand the law. But I also understand mornings at 6:20, violin recitals in gymnasiums that smell like orange slices, the weight of a sleeping child after a nightmare, and the long storms of fourth-grade math. I understand promises made in kitchens and whispered at bedtime. I'm asking to adopt fully, formally, not to replace anything they've lost, but to sanctify what we already are. He does not speak the line he has rehearsed 100 times. Blood is biology. Love is a decision you make every day. He doesn't need to. The room already knows. Nora covers her mouth. A soundless sob. The judge looks down, writes, looks up. Mr. Hale, Ms., we will review the petition promptly. Outside. The sky has that fragile blue that comes only after rain. On the courthouse steps, Mia and Leela sprint toward him, school permission slips crumpled in their hands. Hope messy as their hair. He kneels, arms open. There's a moment that is not a hug, but a home being rebuilt in a single breath. Days return. Not as they were, but as they wanted to be. Breakfast resumes its soft ritual. The girls argue about syrup, then share it anyway. On Saturdays, Ethan teaches them how to jumpstart a car and how to apologize without excuses. On Sundays, they volunteer at the shelter where Mia holds clipboards like medals and Leela promises every dog a poem. He doesn't talk about the envelope. He talks about the kind of courage that looks boring from far away, showing up, making dinner, learning the new math. He listens more. He laughs more softly, as if protecting a candle. Papers arrive in the mail weeks later. Adoption, full and final. He signs with the same fountain pen, the ink a small river across the page. It is not a victory. It is a vow renewed under a different kind of sky. That night, they drag a blanket onto the roof to watch the Perseids. The girls count streaks across the dark and rename each one. Second chances. Our favorite place. Always, some stories are fireworks, bright, noisy, over too quickly. Others are a lighthouse, steady, patient, telling ships where the rocks are. Ethan learns to be both a flash of bravery and a long beam of constancy. He keeps the envelope, not as a wound but as a witness. Proof that love can walk through a fire and come out with ash on its shoes and stars in its hair. There's a final image, 3 silhouettes in the kitchen, dawn pressed against the windows. Pancakes rise like little suns in a pan. The kettle sings. The radio murmurs a song about home that no one remembers learning. A narrator's voice calm, resonant, cinematic, ties it together like a ribbon in a world that measures so much by what can be counted. He chose what can only be kept. 2 daughters, 1 promise, and everyday courage. DNA revealed a number. He revealed a heart, fade to black, a breath, then the tender clatter of forks and the lightest of laughs, like the world turning gently toward morning.